we're saying like, why is it so difficult to get out? If we go back, and I like to draw on a little bit of history to make sense of this, oftentimes what we discover, this is the empirical research and in my own practice, is that from a very early age, these are the type of people who get sort of hooked into this, where something already went missing in their life, right? So these are the kind of people who may have grown up with a caregiver, the most important person in their life in their formative years, who may have been depressed, maybe an alcoholic, maybe there was, there a parent who had their own narcissistic characteristics. So what this looks like, and this is not like, you've heard this before, Lisa, like big T trauma and little T trauma. So
Yes.
they may say, look, I had a great childhood. No, I didn't have any trauma growing up, but it's these little T traumas that go unrecognized that begin to add up. So a simple example, I gave this in one of my podcast episodes many, many months ago, which is like when the kid falls down and scrapes his knee and he comes home crying and he gets a reaction that's not affectively attuned. So he may be greeted by, let's say it's his father, who kind of says like, oh, come on, it's not that bad. Like, and gives, either actually says this, because I've heard these stories, or gives the impression, stop being a baby, or you have the little girl who, creates some art project in school and she comes home bursting with energy and excitement to show her mother. And her mother is, doesn't match the level of intensity and doesn't even really seem interested in what the girl produced, These things on their own will never create trauma, but if you accumulate these over time and there's not enough good enough experiences to counterbalance them, which means empathic resonance, affect attunement, empathy, understanding, then yes, these are the traumas, what I would say, of everyday life begin to add up. And that's what then leaves one with a feeling like something is really missing. And that's when that narcissistic partner comes in beautifully and handy, right? Because now comes all that external validation, because they don't have it internally, because they never internalized that from a caregiver. So that's why this relationship becomes so in part, that's why it becomes so meaningful to them, if that makes sense.